Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Energy Inside Motion. I'm here today with my guest DJ Silk.
Hello.
So if you'd like to just give a quick introduction to the viewers.
Yeah, sure. I am DJ Silk. Been a DJ for a very, very long time. Born and bred in Wolverhampton, but pretty much Birmingham is my second home. And I'd say probably the UK is probably my third home. So yeah, man, been doing it a long time and I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, man, I appreciate it. So how did you get into the creative industry?
I would say I got into the creative industry, specifically DJing, at the age of 15. So probably like the last year of school. Went to a lot of youth clubs and stuff like that, picked it up. But I pretty much had it all within me from very young. Like this is kind of this, I wanted to be in the music industry.
Yeah.
And the creative side of it, I'd always had a field of like acting or, just prattling around at school, do you know what I mean? But when I found that the DJing was the way, that was where we went with it, yeah.
Okay, so what type of music did you, like what was your first type of music that got you interested?
In music or as a DJ? So I mean, growing up R&B and old school kind of, well, it was current R&B, 90s, early 2000s. That was like the music that I'd listen to pretty much day to day, would be in our house, a bit of reggae and whatnot. But when I started DJing, funny enough, I actually started DJing playing garage, which is old school garage now, but at the time it was UK garage, two-step, pirate radio stuff, and that's what I started. But I would say that only lasted about 6 weeks or so, really, not long. And then I kind of figured out that I actually can be a DJ and play R&B and hip hop and stuff. So, and that was what I was listening to on a day to day. That was what my passion was about. So that's the angle that I went down. Yeah.
Okay, so like what age did you start DJing?
Yeah, so I started DJing at 15 years old, very young. I was in the clubs the same year. I was getting a little bit of money, but same year I started DJing, I went straight in the clubs and haven't looked back since.
What advice would you have for creatives who are trying to become DJs?
What advice would I have for a creative trying to be a DJ? I mean, the advice would be broad, probably across all creative, whatever creative you get into. It would be, find the passion that you want to do and just go for it, like give it your all. But don't ever do anything like half-assed, like go straight into it, feet first, get in there and just go. But like, most importantly, just make sure that your talent is at the forefront of everything that you do, for sure.
So did you teach yourself to DJ, or how did you actually learn to DJ?
How did I? So I kind of, as far as DJing and teaching myself, I didn't. It's a weird thing back then because it's a lot different now. Nowadays, you can go on YouTube. There was no YouTube back then. I mean, internet probably just came out. But like, at first I'd hear like DJs and what DJing was about, and I always used to think like DJing was like DJ Dave or do you know what I mean, like someone at the auntie's disco. I never really knew what a DJ was, and then when I kind of figured it out, I was more so looking at kind of like dance DJs and like Pete Tong and Paul Oakenfold and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I started at. I thought, okay, I could get into it via what they do. But they were doing it in a style that I didn't really like, just pure mixing. It was interesting, but it wasn't interesting me enough. Not as much as like scratch DJs, like DMC style, like like Qbert and Craze and stuff like that. So I actually went the hard route first. I actually learned how to become more of a technical DJ in the beginning, and then kind of figured out the easier bits as and when we went on, like selection and blending and stuff like that. But yeah, it was all pretty much self-taught. Back then you had VHSs, so I'd buy scratch VHSs and watch them do what they do and just kind of work that into it. But I also had a great ear, so I'd listen to like radio and people's radio shows and hear DJs mix and then kind of figure it out myself.
Okay, so how did you get into radio? So obviously you did DJing, but how did you transition? Yeah,
so my first kind of stint within radio would have been pirate radio. So in Wolverhampton and back then there was a lot of pirate radio stations. I actually entered the DJ competition in Wolverhampton, and the people from the radio were there and they asked me to come on. So I originally started on a pirate radio, like I said, straight away, 15, 16 years old. That was my first stint within radio, I guess you could call it radio. And then from then I did a lot of local radio stuff, like even up here I did New Style Radio, I think it was. I did a bit of big city radio that was around at the time. And I've always, since about 2000 and I would say 7, I've always done like guest shows on legal radio. So back then it was Galaxy, it's Capital now, but Galaxy, and obviously then working with the BBC and you know, and here I am now. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you? What's it like working with the BBC, and how has that developed you as a DJ?
So working with the BBC, I'm a part of a show called the Throwback Party. It's in its 4th year now. So kind of my role on that show is I'm a curator of the music and also the DJ of the show. And we have 2 hosts on there as well, Kiki and Joella. They kind of do what they do and I do what I do. As far as the DJ and how it made me better, I mean, you know, every week I have to be on form. I mean, we always do old school music. So I have to really do kind of like my digging and finding out, you know, if we have a theme for that week, I've got to make sure that theme is the forefront and that's the best show that I can put out with that theme. Even if it's something that I'm not particularly not say interested in, but I'm not skilled in, like soca music for whatever, is not really a strong point of mine, but for that week I make sure I'm the best soca DJ there is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So
what's your selection process like when choosing music?
For radio or for clubs or?
Start with radio. What's a lot for radio? So
for radio, obviously it's easier nowadays because I generally just do an old school show. So our times are like from 2020 now, all the way back until the 80s.
Okay.
And my selection on that show is pretty much based on whatever the theme is. I kind of fit the theme. So, for example, if the theme's carnival, that show that week will be heavily dancehall, soca, reggae. As far as clubs, very rarely nowadays do I play a lot of new music. I do play new music, but not as much as I did in my younger years, mainly because I'm not really a fan of the music, to be honest, and I am quite well known for being more of the old school DJ. But my selection process has always been pretty much the same from the off. I feel a song out one week. If it works, it'll be in the set next week, do you know what I mean? Okay. And that's pretty much what I've always done, yeah.
So obviously you DJ at festivals as well, right? What was your first experience like DJing at a festival?
My first experience DJing at a festival, wow. To be honest with you, I'd always done little bits and pieces, but obviously since COVID was pretty much when not only did I get the opportunity to do festivals, but my career also kind of, you know, exploded a little bit more than it was before. First experience at a festival, I'm not too sure what festival it is. I've done a lot of festivals, you know, everything from Wireless to BBC's Radio one weekend, just so many arrays of different festivals. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that really kind of took me by surprise doing festivals was, I mean, the amount of people for a start. I mean, like, you know, a lot of times when you do clubs and whatever, there's always a capacity limit, but in festivals it could go for as long as the eye can see. And when you kind of got that in front of you, you have a little bit more confidence to be able to play however you want to, because at the end of the day, I mean, they're not going to go nowhere, do you know what I mean? They're there. I did a lot of concerts as well in my younger years, so like I did a lot of big shows for big artists, and that kind of got me ready for doing the festivals, where I am actually at the festivals for Silk, for my brand. Yeah. Okay.
So how did you get into working with festivals? Was it through them contacting you or what?
Yeah, I mean, the same way that how I got into festivals, the same way that you get a booking for, you know, an event or whatever you get a booking for, is the same process. You know, if your name's out there and you're causing a buzz, people are going to want you on there, because if they feel as though you can sell tickets, if they feel as though you're going to do a good job, and if they feel like they're getting all that and more, you know, they're going to come knocking the door. Okay. I've never really gone out my way to, I've never been that DJ where I've reached out to people and said, oh, can I get a slot on here? I'm not saying that DJs shouldn't do that, because definitely do that, but it's not something that I ever did. And yeah, they all, you know, they come to me and I'm very grateful for it.
Okay. What advice would you have for people in the industry who are trying to grow their personal brand and making content?
What advice would I give for people trying to grow their personal brand? I mean, nowadays it's a lot easier. So with social media, there's so many different avenues to create a better brand for yourself for whatever you're doing. Content-wise, again, like me being kind of like from the old school, I hate saying that, but I would say that I've had to kind of relearn a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And even more so recently, like I was in a meeting with a few interesting people in the industry, and I just said to them, I was like, you know, how can I make my brand better than what it is? Like, what things do I need to do? And you know, and they pointed out certain things, but a lot of time I knew myself. And with content and with branding, you've just got to keep yourself out there, like every day. And one of the lines that stuck with me, which is a great line to use with anyone going forward, is try not to go viral, but build a library that keeps you in people's minds. So if you think about it, everyone's trying to chase that clip that's going to give them XYZ views, and they think that everything's going to come from that. But there's a lot of people out there that have had a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, that have a buzz for a week or so, but then there's nothing else after it. But if you build a library that, like on your Instagram or whatever social media you're using, that people can go to, and they constantly are seeing you, eventually that will work in your favour for sure.
So how do you like connect with the audience? How do you interact with the audience when you're performing a set?
How do I interact with them? It's a lot different nowadays. I used to drink a lot, so I'd be eating people's faces. But to be honest with you, I'm not really that DJ that's going to be a loud, dance around kind of guy. It's not really my style. I connect with people on a more personal level on a day-to-day basis, and I feel that echoes when I'm in the club. A lot of people know a lot about me, a lot about, you know, my journey, about my family. And I think that when people come out to see me play, not only do they expect, you know, a good set or a good, you know, good vibe, but they also know what I'm going home to. Do you know what I mean? I think that's very important for people. Is like a lot of DJs, a lot of creatives are very shy to give away their personal life. But when you bring people into your world, it's going to help you tenfold. Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable with certain parts of you, well, fair enough. But the more you bring people in, the more that they want to buy in. Is the way I look at it. So when I'm in the clubs, there'll be people that I'll speak to on social media, and I'll see them, and we'll have a little connection, whether it be on the microphone or mention them or whatnot. And that's kind of how I've been for a while now, for sure.
What do you feel like the part of your journey is that has shaped you the most as a DJ?
What about my journey? One part about my journey that has shaped me the most. Do you know what? It's easy to sit here and say this amazing thing happened to me and that was brilliant. This big thing, and I did this with that person. It wasn't the good stuff that shaped me. It was the bad stuff. You know, I've had a few instances throughout my career when things haven't gone well, and I had to readjust. You know, COVID was a big one for a lot of DJs. You know, a lot of people were out of work, and I think because of the experiences that I had in the past where things didn't go my way, I felt like when COVID came around, I was prepared. I was ready to say to myself, you know, we've been here before and we can get through this and we can come out better for it. So I'd say COVID is probably the one thing that when I look back in 20 years' time, I'll look at the catalyst for, you know, what changed my kind of career path. Because I don't think as a DJ or creative, you can get any lower. You know what I mean? And then if you can build something whilst you're at your lowest, then when everything's fine and great, there should be no excuses. And that's what I always remember every day, for sure.
What advice do you have for creatives when overcoming obstacles? So like around building resilience, or what are some personal ways that you've been able to overcome obstacles?
What advice would I give to people who, obstacles, Listen, it's more of a deep thing, really, because like you see in life, it doesn't matter whether you're creative, whether you're a football player, whatever you do as a living, right? You're gonna find obstacles. You're gonna have things that come in your way that you didn't expect, you didn't plan for. You know, a rainy day. Oh, I didn't have money saved, right? So the only way that you can overcome a hurdle like that is being prepared, but you'll never be prepared for it, because you'll say to yourself, all right, I'll be prepared for one thing, but then something else will pop up. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you're a fighter, right, and you're MMA fighter, you know, you might go into a fight, for example, thinking to yourself, all right, this guy's going to take me down and choke me out, but then all of a sudden you get into the fight and he doesn't want to do that. He wants to stand up and fight and box with you. So you've got to adapt. So it's overcoming kind of obstacles and hurdles that should already be built within your character. And if you haven't got that right now, then build it. because there's going to be many of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely like the early stages of what you do is what determines how you'll be able to handle the rest of your journey.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
So where do you see yourself going with your career in the upcoming years?
I mean, where do I see myself going in the next few years? To be honest with you, like whenever I get asked that question, I'm just riding the wave. You know, it's kind of like I'll be doing it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
You know, if I set a goal for myself and I get to that goal, I'll be happy for a day, but then I'm chasing the next one. Do you know what I mean? And for somebody that's been within the industry for a long time, like myself, I've seen a lot of people come and go. So whenever I kind of think to myself, where do I see myself in 5, 10 years? It's still doing what I'm doing now, but to the level that whatever makes me happy at that time. If for example, in 10 years' time, I want to slow it down and do weddings or whatever, like that might be something that I want to do. Or do I want to continue and go a further afield, you know? There's no, real answer I can give you on that one apart from we're going to keep going till the lights turn off.
Okay. So do you ever perform internationally as well, or are you mainly just performing in the UK?
No, yeah, for sure. I do a lot of abroad bookings, yeah, definitely, yeah.
How does it differ when you're doing it internationally versus in the UK?
So, like DJing abroad, like internationally compared to the UK, depends on where you go. So, I'm fortunate enough that I go to Dubai a lot. In Dubai, there's a lot of UK people. Okay. So I don't really have to adapt my style to them. But if I go further afield in different countries that maybe are kind of like culturally different, I would have to adapt that way and maybe change the style that I DJ, change the style of music that I play and the way that I play it. But if you're a good enough DJ, good enough whatever you do, you'll know that beforehand. Research is a good thing as well. Like before I go to a country that I've never been, I'll always find out like what's working out there. I mean, this week I'm in Gran Canaria and Malta, 2 places I've never been. Yeah. But I'm pretty much sure that the people that are there are going to be from the UK. So again, I won't have to really change what I'm doing. It's more about when you go into those countries where you are going in as, if someone from another country, like I did an event a few years ago in Switzerland. Okay. And I'd never been anywhere near Switzerland, right? So when I knew that the booking was coming up, I did a lot of research, found out that the DJ who was playing at the club before me, and just found out what works there, what doesn't work there. But, again, if you're good enough at what you do, you'll be able to figure it out, because they can't hold your hand. As soon as you put on your song, your USB or turn your laptop on, you're on your own. So, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned about obviously speaking with different people in the industry. How important do you feel networking is for people in the industry, and how would you best approach networking?
How important is networking within the industry? I feel that networking is very important in a lot of fields. It's important in DJing, but at the same time, I feel as though, again, like we spoke about earlier on with like branding and whatnot, you've got to do it yourself. Nobody can hold you on. There's people that can help you out, and that's great for networking. I think networking is very, very important, not only in the beginning stages of your career, but also on the journey. Because, you might speak to someone, and get a little bit out of them. They might get a little bit out of you, and you benefit from it. So I would say it's vital. It's vital across, all boards to network for sure. Okay.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned so far in your career?
The biggest thing I learned so far in my career? Biggest thing I learned? I mean, the biggest thing I learned from my career, it learned me a lot about myself. Like playing music for a living and doing, every day when I wake up, and I get to do this, it's a dream, right? So, I have to be grateful for that. There was a lot of times where I wasn't grateful. I was like, annoyed that I had to go and do this booking for 5 hours and getting paid this money. Or I was annoyed that I had to, do things I didn't want to do and stuff like that. Whereas now, I'm just grateful for everything, do you know what I mean? It's like as soon as you hit that switch where you become grateful for doing what you love, I think, that's amazing, for sure.
So obviously you're doing DJing full time. How do you separate from that? Is there any other things that help you to unwind?
Oh yeah, I mean, is there any things that help me unwind from this career? For sure. I mean, I've got a family. I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife that recently got married. They're my escape from what I do. I've got hobbies and stuff like that. I play golf. Golf's my thing, you know. But you know, when you've been in an industry from such a young age, it becomes such a big part of your life that you find ways within the industry to separate yourself. Do you know what I mean? So there might be things that I'll do, like for example, like if I do a lot of club stuff, which I do work for the radio, but then, you know, I might just go in my studio one night and just play, you know, whatever, by myself. And again, I do encourage a lot of DJs to do that. Like, have fun with it, play, you know what I mean? Like, that's why you got into it in the first place. So yeah, I would say, like, my escapes from the career that I'm in are my family and hobbies. But I also don't really want to escape from it too much because I love it so much. So
yeah, I think a lot of people have the idea of imposter syndrome. How would you feel they should overcome that?
So I mean, my advice to anyone that is kind of feels like they've got imposter syndrome, it's a difficult one really, because if you feel it, then it's very hard for me to kind of make people kind of, you know, have a difference of opinion. It's like when you do your job, when you do your work, like, you know if it's working, right? And you know if it's not working. But at the same time, it's like, if it makes you happy, then just do it anyway. Because, you know, it's not like a job, right? So if people go to work and there's some people do jobs and they don't enjoy their job, right? But they have to do it because they want to get paid. Like, if you do something and you love it, why care what anyone else thinks, right? If you then can turn it into a, you know, monetary and make money from it, or you become, you know, popular from it, you know, that's just like a gift from putting in the work and working hard. I think it's like, if you feel as though you're scared to kind of do anything, my advice would be the same thing I'd say to like my son about like going into sixth form and he's worried about meeting new people. It's like, you can sit at home all day long and be worried about it, but you'll never know, right? Unless you go out there and meet people and go and do it. So if you want to be a DJ and you're worried about how you're going to be received, you'll never know unless you do it. So if you're going to stay at home and worry about it, that's your character. That's how that's what you'll be for the next 5-6 years. You'll be always thinking, I should have done it. Whereas if you go out there and do it, and if you're already doing it and you feel like you could do better, but you don't feel comfortable, you're scared to take that next step, whether it be, you know, big thing at the moment with like content and stuff like that is getting stuff like this, front facing stuff, talking to a camera. Like, if you're worried about doing it, but you feel like that's the step you got to do, you're gonna have to find a way of overcoming it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what that would be. Practice it, you know, do little things with your friends. Like, but at the same time, it's like, if you want to do it, you'll find a way. Definitely.
Well, what's the most challenging experience that you've had, and how did that make you feel?
Most challenging experience I had. Again, like, you know, COVID was the most challenging thing for anybody within my industry. I mean, like, you know, you had no clubs were open. There was no avenue to make money. You know, and if you do it full time like how I do, and you've got your own house, mortgage and whatnot, children, I mean, you don't get much. You know, worse than that. A lot of DJs at the time, you know, they were struggling, but they still went home to mum and dad, you know what I mean? They still had their parents, they still had this and that, whereas, you know, a lot of us were out there on our own. I mean, the biggest thing that I ever had to overcome was, you know, a few incidents earlier on in my career kind of put a little bit of a slow burner on what I was doing. Nothing to do with me, but like violence within a club. I was the DJ. And, you know, I went down in the dumps about it for a while, but I just picked myself back up. The thing is, within my career and with any creative industry, you've got to find ways to reinvent yourself. You can't just be the same you were 5 years ago. You have to do something different. So at that time, you know, all right, cool, like, I couldn't play in the clubs in Birmingham, so as a club DJ, but the student scene was popping, and I was all right playing there. So I went to the student scene and played there, and so it's like, it's always about just reinventing yourself and just don't stand still. It's the biggest, like, I mean, people that stand still in anything in life, in the career, you know, relationships, you just become comfortable and you never progress the way you want to be. So if I just sat at home in my bed crying about what's going on, I never would be where I am right now. I would have given up and gone and got a 9-to-5 job, you know? Yeah.
So with your obviously your DJ and your music, how do you want that to make people feel, and how do you want it to impact them?
I mean, how do I want what I do to make people feel? That's why I got into into DJing, you know. From a young age, I would be the guy that would be bringing in music into school. Back then it was Walkmans, you know, probably before your time, but we was in school, Walkmans, put the headphones up the sleeve, you know, you'd be doing your work, but you'd be listening to songs, right? I would always be the guy that would bring in the songs. Like, I'd be bringing in the tape packs from Sidewinder or Pirate Radio, and, you know, you'd always, like, I would discover a song, for example, like an R&B song from then, and I'd show it to, like, my friends. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I love this. Yeah. Seeing that reaction, I felt like kind of spurred me on to be what I am today. Is like seeing people react in a positive way to something that you've chosen is a gift that, like, I don't know, I can never describe it. You know, I try and explain to my kids, like, what is I do what I do, like what it gives me. But it's not so much what it gives me, it's what it gives others, you know what I mean? And as the years have gone on, I've been able to do that on small scales or massive scales. And that's what it's all about, man. Is I love to make people feel good, forget about their troubles, whether they've, you know, had a bad day at work or an argument in their relationship. They come to the club where I'm playing, and they're with me for that hour or 2 hours, you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure.
So, obviously, do you want your children to follow in your footsteps with the type of career that you're doing?
Do I want my children to follow me in my footsteps? I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't think their mom would be too happy about it. But I would love for them to get into anything creative, for sure, because I feel like, you know, being a creative person is the best form of showing who you are as a person. I don't think there's any other thing that's better. You know what I mean? You can really showcase everything about you as a person at being a creative. Like your character, you know, what you feel about things and emotions, and I think it's the best way. I would love them to do that. Like my daughter, she's into dance, like she's in dance classes and whatnot, my middle daughter. And, you know, I can see a little bit of her in me when she does what she does, and I just love to see her be creative, you know. I've got another little one, and my son's like 16, and he's just finding his way. But, you know, my main thing is with the kids is how I, you know, parent my children is I let them do what they want to do, but whatever they pick, we're going to do it to the best of our ability. We're not doing it half-eyed. We're doing it all the way. Yeah.
So you're very like a person, you care about quality. Would you say that's the main driving force for what?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it can hinder, like being quality focused can hinder you in this game, because I feel like, you know, you can be too much of a perfectionist and then something never gets done. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was always like that. I would always have something like a mix or whatever that I would make, and I'd be like, nah, it's a little bit off, I'm not going to put it out. But I feel like we live in a day and age now where you cannot be that person. Like, you've just literally got to record what you're doing, put it out there. If people like it, they don't, we're going to record again anyway. Because people's attention span's so short. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could do something, you know, I'm not really great on TikTok, but I did something a couple of months ago. I just wanted to test like the algorithm. So I picked like a Justin Bieber song that just come out. I did 3 different versions of that as a remix, put it out there and just saw what happened. And one of it went viral, like for me anyway. And I was like, that was the worst one. Like, I literally, like, if people say to me, oh, I love that version, I'm like, oh, nah. You sure you didn't like the one that I did with the T-Pain? He's like, no. No, I like that one, the one with the LL. I was like, oh. So, you know what I mean? I had to get rid of that from a long time, because nothing would ever get done, because if you're always scrutinising, like, the work that you're doing, it's never going to get out. Just put it out, and just, if it works, it works. But don't put it out if you know that it ain't good.
Yeah, for
sure. I mean? Ask a friend, ask someone you trust, you know, your partner, your parents, like, what do you think of this? Like, I like it. All right, it's going out. Yeah,
100%. How do you experiment with music, and how does that process make you feel when you experiment with sounds?
Yeah, I mean, how do I experiment with it? I mean, like I say, whenever I get to play in a, you know, a club or an event that is a little bit out of my comfort zone, it's kind of when I thrive the most, because if I'm kind of playing in the same things over and over again, you do become complacent and repetitive. But if you're playing in something different, where it's a different age group, it's a different, you know, style of music, that's kind of what I like, because like, you do get to experiment. Do you know what I mean? Like, every year I say to myself, I go to Iron Appa, right, 1 week and do a gig in Iron Appa. that's all like 18 to 21-year-olds. So I get to really hear and see what they're like, do you know what I mean? So if it's a particular song that's bumping over there, I know that if I play that over here to that age group, it's going to work. Because again, a lot of UK people go to Napa, so that's what I do. When I'm in a different environment, I get to experiment more. But when I'm in like an environment that people are coming out to see, I know that they want to hear me do what I do, that's when you kind of become a little bit repetitive and stuff. But I'm trying my best to mix it up for sure.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned you did interviewing as well at a point in your career. How was that for you? How did you get into interviewing?
How did I get into interviewing? So I went in my earlier stages of radio when I was on Pirate Radio. I used to have good relationships with record labels, and obviously back then it wasn't like it was now. Like nowadays, an artist can go on their social media and say, "I've got a song coming out," and everyone's going to go crazy, right? But you didn't have that back then. Okay. So people had to do media and radio and whatnot. So I'd always get, called up to do certain interviews with artists. And then, you just you have like, you build a trust, because this game, the creative industry is the same. It's like if you do one bit of work for someone and you do it good, they know they can always rely on you, right? So if I do an interview with an artist for a label, and then that label have then got another artist coming out who's, young or whatever, and they want to tap into that market, they'll ask you, do you know what I mean? Same way as like if you do things like this or, anything that you do as a job for someone, if you do it well, you'll get asked to come back. And that's what I did for a long time. Like on my radio show back in the day, I had every artist. All the big UK artists that are big out there now was once on my radio show, and a lot of big American artists as well.
What's the favourite person that you've collaborated with?
When you say collaborate, what do you mean?
In terms of interviews.
Interviews is, I can't really. Favourite person I've interviewed, it's a bit of a difficult one. Favourite person that I've like DJ'd for and like done a club event with would be J. Cole. I can't remember the year now, maybe 2014, I would say. I got the opportunity to play a private party for him after one of his shows. Okay. And he was at a bar in Arcadian in Birmingham, and it was literally me, J. Cole, and his boys. From 10 p.m, 11 p.m, I think when the show finished, until 6 a.m. in the morning. And when I say that, like that will always stay within my mind because, even at that time, J. Cole was a massive artist, but when you think to yourself that, you've been able to kind of like have that, so, we talked about that bond with like, people coming out to hear me play, but when it's a big artist like that and you've got the same one, I mean, you're never going to forget stuff like that. I've got some crazy stories as well, but yeah, that's one that always sticks in my mind of like, yeah, that was a cool one.
Is there any advice that artists have gave you that you've worked with? In a roundabout way, I've had bits and pieces. A lot of the old school DJs have always kind of given me little gems here and there, but I've always been quite stubborn. It's like, I'll figure it out myself, don't worry. How do you feel like the industry has changed over the years since you've started to now?
How do I feel like the industry's changed? What exactly do you mean, like in the industry, which part?
So I think with obviously the audience has changed a lot. So when you would do it 20 years ago, people will react differently to how they react now.
Oh yeah, like the attention span of like the new generation of people is so short, but TikTok and Reels and everything that they get is like they get it, and then if they don't like the first 4 seconds, they've gone, right. But it's like that in a club with that particular generation. It's like they want to hear songs that quick. I also see there's a massive trend at the moment where people will come online and say, "Oh, DJs, like play something different, like play something I haven't heard before." But when they're in the club, you play something different, they don't want to hear it. So it's an interesting thing. Like I think this generation, as far as like club world, are the most messed up because like they've come into it obviously after COVID and they've just been hitting the clubs and things are totally different. Like I say, you don't see, a couple dancing together anymore. You don't see people staying within a song for longer than the hook or the chorus. So it's definitely changed within that. It's a shorter attention span. But again, if you're a DJ and you want to be in this industry, you got to learn to adapt. So if that's what they want to hear and that's how they want to hear it, you got to do it, or else they'll just want to hear someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you done streaming at all in your career?
Yeah, I've done a lot of streaming. So when COVID happened and the clubs closed, the first thing that I did was I went on Instagram Live. You know, I literally just put a camera up in my little, I didn't even have a studio then, I had a little, it was a garage, and I just put my setup was in there, and put the phone up on a tripod and went live.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Probably one of the best times in my career, because there was no interaction like that. It was very similar to pirate radio, because pirate radio back in the day, you'd play your songs and people would text and go crazy.
Yeah.
People don't really text in radios no more, do you know what I mean? They don't really phone up radio no more. So when I was streaming, you'd have that instant interaction, you'd have that instant feedback. People were liking what you're doing, they were putting it on the chat and whatnot. And then obviously it went from Instagram Live to Twitch. Then I could become a bit more creative, a bit more kind of myself, a bit more long form stuff. And yeah, it was great. It just, as soon as the clubs opened in like the end of 2021, I just became too busy to stream. And I did try and go back now and then, but you know, when I'm doing all the stuff that I'm doing, like I'm doing my radio show, I'm doing events, I'm working, you know, 2-3 times a week, DJing and family and hobbies. It's, you know, it's hard to just jump on there. But one of the things I did say to myself is I do want to go back streaming. I feel like it's the purest form of interaction that you can get, even more than the club now. Definitely.
One of the things that I've observed when being in the creative scene is I feel like people struggle with time management a lot and how to prioritise things. How do you, when you're doing so many things, how do you manage your time?
How do I manage my time and prioritise things? I think like what I did was I had a board, like I had a whiteboard that I put up in my studio, and that's how I prioritise things. But like, you know the things that have got to get done. I'm probably the worst person to speak about stuff like this, because my time management is terrible. Like as far as like trying to get stuff done, if it comes to like being on time for stuff, I'm always on time, ja rule. And you know, I'm 10 minutes, 20 minutes earlier than what I should be. But like when it comes to like doing something that I know has got to be done, yeah, I'm not great at it. And I could do tips myself. But yeah, just pre-organise everything, like, you know, set a day aside where you're going to go, right, this is what I'm going to do on Thursday, but I do it on Monday. You know, if you've got an hour spare, get it all down, get it on a board, get it somewhere that you can see, so as soon as you walk in the room, you're like, oh, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that would be the best way. And obviously, prioritise your time around stuff that obviously are a priority. For sure.
Okay. Well, what do you want do you often think about legacy, or what would you want your legacy to be?
What would I want my legacy to be? Again, I've answered this question a few times throughout the years, and I always come to the part where when I think of my legacy, I don't think of my legacy as a DJ or as Silk. I think about my legacy as a father, as a parent, as a person. I feel like those things have become more and more important to me as the years have gone. Definitely, like parent and being a great dad has always been something that I want to be remembered for, obviously, with my children. But more importantly now, it's more about the person that I am. I didn't always used to see that as being that important. It was like, you know, I was Silk in the club and whoever I was away from the club, and I didn't really care like whether the two were the same or whatnot. But nowadays, I would say that I would want my legacy to be more about how I made people feel, you know, when they come to a club and saw me play, like, you know, how did they go away from me? I always want to be that DJ, that person that when they think back to like where they were at this time in their life, that they go, oh, do you remember? Yeah, Silk, do you remember him? But as well as that, it's more about being a person, the interactions that I have with people. I try and give people as much time as I can. Doesn't matter who they are or how important they are. And I always try and be myself. So again, if I had to have a legacy, I would always want it to be those things, but also he was true to himself throughout the whole of it.
Okay. So we've touched on family a bit. How do you think family life has impacted your journey and shaped you as a person?
How has family life impacted my journey? I mean, family life's impacted my journey more so with the drive. You know, it's made me want to push further every day, every week, every year to make sure that not only, you know, do my family have have a life that is, enjoyable and fun, and they get to do what they want to do, but also they can see that their dad is doing what he loves. Like, that's the most important thing for me. As long as they can see that I do what I enjoy, I want them to have the same drive so that they get that as well, right? And whether that be within your job, your career, or whether that be with their relationships or whatnot, I want them to see what I've got and think it's attainable for them. So yeah.
Something I really wanted to ask is, how did you come up with the name DJ Silk?
How did I come up with the name DJ Silk? It's quite simple, really. It's not really anything special. But back in the day, like I told you, when I was at school, every person that I would look at would be into garage music, right? So it would be like, I don't know what garage artists it was back then, or garage DJs, but EZ and whatnot was about then. But because I was into R&B, right? And I'd bring in the tapes and bring in the stuff, and me and my friends would go back and forth on the music, right? When I was thinking about becoming a DJ and having a DJ name, there was an R&B group at the time in the 90s called Silk, and they had a massive song called Freak Me, which was then done by Another Level. That's the geek side. But yeah, so then people used to call me Silk because of like R&B, silky, whatever. And people was like, oh, silky, like this. So then when I thought about, because back then you had to have a DJ name that wasn't your name. Like, you couldn't be like, David James back then. You had to be like something different. So yeah, that was it. It's as simple as that. And I just stuck with it ever since.
What do you feel separates you from other DJs? And what advice would you give to DJs who want to craft their own unique style more?
What do I feel separates me from DJs, from other DJs? Again, I feel like the way that I play, the music is different from everybody else. Even though, a lot of people, they do try and do it like how I do it, which is fine. That's the biggest compliment in the world, isn't it? Compliment in the world. But I feel like my love for the music, my passion, my knowledge of the music, my being able to adapt to different crowds because of the experience that I've had, not just in years DJ'd, but in the vast variety of different places that I've played in the different circumstances, separates me from everybody else. And what was the other question?
How do you think people should find like their own unique style and sound?
How do I feel? Yeah, so how do I think they should find their own unique style and sound as a DJ? It's got to come from you. It's got to come from within. Like, you've got to feel it. Like, it's so easy as a DJ to just play the hits. It's so easy it doesn't matter what music you play, R&B, house, techno, drum and bass. Like, if you want to play stuff that's going to make people go, oh my God, that's my favourite song, right? But essentially, that's not what a DJ is, right? It's not what it should be. And you're never going to craft your own style if you do that. You've got to do something that, first of all, is important to you. So if it's important to you to play, to be mainly focused for playing slow jams like love songs and whatever, then do that, but do it the best, right? You'll find your way as soon as you press start and start doing it. But it would just be, take a look at yourself, take a look at something that you do, and that you want to show people that it makes you different. Like, this is what makes me different. There's no point in me saying to them, like, this is what can make you different or stand out. Like, you've got to find that yourself. There's no handbook, it's not on you. If it is on YouTube, then there's a guy just waffling, do you know what I mean? You've got to find your own way and find your own style.
Obviously, the business aspect of the creative industry is a big part that a lot of people struggle with. What's a particular business experience that you've had that you managed to overcome? Yeah,
within the DJing and creative industry, like when you become, self-employed or whatever, you don't know about tax and VAT and stuff like that. It's like if you want to take it as a career and make money from it, you've got to learn that. That was probably the biggest thing for me, because when I started as a kid, it was like cash in hand and whatnot. You was just doing what you was doing. But that is one thing that I feel as though is very important, is to learn that side of things. Just so that you do, if you're a DJ or anything in creative and you want to take yourself seriously, you need to take yourself seriously across the board. It can't just be like in the actual performance. It has to be everything behind the scenes. So as long as you keep your business in order, then you can flourish in the creative side. Definitely.
One important question I have is, so obviously I think a lot of creatives, they struggle to put their value into numbers. How do you decide like how much your time and your services are worth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like in the beginning when you're starting out, there's no real way you can do that. You know, if you're a DJ or whatever you do creative and you want to make money from it, it's very hard in the beginning to gauge.
Right.
Best thing to do is obviously ask people that have either been through that journey and quite recently. Like that would be the best thing to do. Like if you've got a DJ that has been a DJ for about 2 years, they're the best people to speak to. Do you know what I mean? Because they would have done it like the kind of the closest to when you're trying to do it. But like it's a difficult one really, because I would say you want to make money from it if you're given your time with anything that you do. But with DJing it's a little bit differently, because there's so many DJs, like you haven't showcased yourself to a point where like people are going to pay you money to do what you do, because they don't really like, they can just get this person, like if you say you charge this and they go, well, so and so charges that, it's like there's no real way. I think it comes with time, but it comes, we spoke about earlier on, when you do start networking, you will be able to meet people and ask a DJ that's been doing it for a couple of years, like in the beginning, how did you know, how much did you charge for this and how do we do it? And then as time goes on, you'll know. You know, there's a lot of DJs right now that are DJing that are underpaid, that are like not making the money that they should do for their hourly rate, because they're too scared to kind of go, well, it's I've started charging a bit more now because, you know, I've got a few more followers, or I play it here, and they don't want to do it because then they're scared that they're not going to get booked again. But my thing is like, always up your money, always try and get more money, because then you'll see exactly how much you are valued. Because in this industry, people put value on how much things cost, right? Because like if you're a DJ and someone says, "Yo, can you do my wedding?" and you charge them a lot of money, like charge them the rate that you charge. Like that's your rate, you know what I mean? They can then go, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested." But like, if you're charging that much money, then you feel in yourself that you are worth that. And again, that is the most important thing. If you feel you're worth it, charge it, see what happens. If you don't get booked, you might need to drop it. Do you know what I mean? But if you do get booked, then you're worth it. Okay. For sure.
Thank you for watching. This has been another episode of Energy Inside Motion with DJ Silk.
Pleasure, Colin. Thank you
very much. Would you like to give them your socials as well?
Yeah, you can follow me anywhere on social media at Silk Shutdown, all one word. Mainly Instagram, because I'm too old for TikTok, but yeah.